And so this idea that everything is connected and that it's all in communication, makes it possible for systems to self-organize. So when you're talking about the intelligence of the universe, you're really talking about the intelligence of you. You're an extremely intelligent person, and I don't mean you just personally, but...
What? You mean I'm not?
No. But human beings, or any biological entity or even maybe non-biological entity, there's an intelligence there. You're absolutely correct. And what I'm saying is that the intelligence is not an extra universal intelligence, like an overseeing intelligence. It's part of the system that makes up the universe itself. It's not separated from us. It's actually everything together is the intelligence.
Was it always there? Do you think it was even there before the Big Bang?
The Bang? Well, absolutely. I believe, it was one of the hardest part in my study. It was to come to conclude that there was never a beginning and there'll never be an end. There was never a chicken or an egg. It's always both. That there's continuous, infinite cycles. And in one way, it feels like when you're trying to visualize that, it feels like unsettling and,
Oh, it rattles your brain.
It does. But actually, when you concede to it, when you let go of an idea of a beginning and an end, which is really based on the frame of reference of a human being, then all of a sudden there's a relaxation that there's this amazing continuous creation process that goes from infinitely back to infinitely forward, and I'm just part of this amazing will work of nature. It actually brings you to new levels of discoveries, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. What's new with your website?
Well, I'm in the middle of revamping the website, so I'm, getting ready to change it, and we're starting all sorts of new programs as well. The programs that I had started, the emissary program is still going, but we're starting a shorter program, which is the delegate program, where people can come and spend 3 days or 2.5 days with me over a weekend, and we can go into the details of the theory, because so many times in my talks, it's just too short for me to explain all of the details of the theory. So a lot of people have been requesting that. So it's very exciting. We already had one delegate program. It was very popular, and it was a great weekend, and there's another one coming in May for the East Coast in New York, and probably one coming up for Europe as well.
All right, very good. Well, when we come back, we have to put consciousness into the equation. And how does that fit? We'll be back in a moment with physicist Nassim Haramein on Coast to Coast AM. I'm George Norrie. Nassim, what is the role of consciousness in all of this?
Well, it's very interesting. Many physicists are looking at trying to find a relationship between consciousness and the material world. In my views, they're not so separate. I think that they actually are related very deeply, that what we call consciousness is actually, a feedback. It's actually a sense of self, self-awareness, demands like a certain amount of information feedback in the system. So I think that it's inherent to the material world, that because of the way the material world actually works, consciousness is a part of it. It's permeating everything. It's part of everything. It's part of the structure of space itself. It's part of the way the material world comes to exist. And those are very, very deep philosophical questions.
Sure.
And I think that we're starting to get a glimmer on what that means, to physics and how the universe can self-organize in such an amazing way as we see on our planet. And so I think there's a great horizon there for us.
Do you think that through consciousness that people can tap into each other, whether it's through telepathy or intuition?
Yes, all these phenomenons that have been reported by so many different people at different times, and not necessarily, very unusual people like psychics and others, but day to day, normal people you see everywhere, having deja vu experiences and many different experiences that seem to, they're taught as psi experiences. They seem to show that there is a direct link between systems, and this is what I was talking about, is that every point is connected to every other point in our universe. So it makes sense that if we understand that information is available from any point to any other point. So in some sense, in certain circumstances, people could have experiences where they can telepathically connect with another person, or some strange event where you think of a person and they call you. There's all sorts of events that occur in everyday life that have to do with this interconnectivity that's already present from the atomic level up, and that actually those woo-woo effects are not so woo. They're actually part of the physics of creation.
For people who have this ability to tap into this, and it takes training, but what do you think allows them to do it? How does it work?
I think that it's actually available to most people. It's a question, as you said, of training and taking the time to actually experience the space around you, to experience the structure of creation around you, to tap into the field. So many of these people talk about tapping into the field, and I think when they talk about that, they're talking about this fundamental energy source that's at the source of the creation of everything, that is in the space, and it holds all the information that coordinates all the atoms in the universe. And if you take the time, and I believe that this is why so many masters that have walked the earth talked about meditation and prayer and many different modalities, yoga and so on, to take the time to connect with this fundamental force at the source of creation. When you do that, then you start to, what I call being a vacuum engineer. You start to connect with this force. You start to understand how it works, how it flows. Some of the Eastern tradition may call it Chi Master, or others call it, the Tao, and so on. And that when you start to connect with that fundamental energy, you can manipulate it. You can manipulate it to produce benefit in health of other people. You can manipulate it to communicate with other people and so on in a nonlinear way, in a way that is not commonly done.
Absolutely. Okay, to the phones we go now. Let's go to Jill in Chicago, Illinois. Hi, Jill. Thanks for calling.
Hi, I'm enjoying your show so much as I do every night. I would enjoy it more if we're here in Chicago. We could get the last 2 hours like we used to. But anyhow, I wanted to ask your guest what he feels or what he thinks and feels about the discrimination that I hear going on between the mainstream science community and the theory of intelligent design.
Well, that's a good question. There's been discrimination between the mainstream scientific community and many theories throughout the years. But there is, it's all I can say about that is that in general it's very difficult for people to accept ideas that that there's some creative force that's not completely materialistic. in nature. And I think that the difficulty there is that actually there's the middle ground between the completely materialistic view and the more religious view, that actually